Hello YouTube. Thought I'd do a quick video on my usual subject, our dear friends, the Jehovah's Witnesses. Um, in the ex-JW community, there are a few acronyms that are particular only to the ex-JW. And today I'm going to be talking about PIMO JWs. That's PIMO. And it stands for, an acronym for physically in, mentally out. There are other categories. There's POMO, physically out, mentally out, POMI. But today, and those are self-explanatory, using the same formula. But today I want to talk about the PIMO or PIMO, Jehovah's Witnesses. These are in fact Jehovah's Witnesses who no longer believe it's God's organisation. They may no longer believe in God. But for whatever reasons, they don't believe that the JW religion is the true faith or the truth. First question that comes to mind, of course, is why are they still there? Why don't they just actually leave? And of course, the answer is very clear. They will lose their family and their friends. It's a well-known fact that high control groups like Jehovah's Witnesses practice shunning, the shunning of ex-members. And so that leaves us with an unspecified number of active Jehovah's Witnesses, or who appear active, but are actually just going through the motions. PIMO. You don't find them in churches, because in churches, of course, if you want to leave, you just leave. Nobody's going to shun you. They might not be happy that you've left, but you're not going to get shunned. That's not the Christian way. But in high control groups, shunning is mandatory. Even in high control groups that don't follow the Bible, shunning of ex-members is mandatory. It's a control thing, really. It keeps people in, and in the Jehovah's Witness case, it stops. If you interact with ex-JWs who have gone on to, make good their lives, it goes against the JW teaching that if anybody goes out, they're going to be bitter and twisted and not amount to anything, which is, in the majority is just not true. So I've got a few notes here, but how do these PIMOs operate? Well, they still attend meetings, probably just enough to stave off a shepherding call from the elders. Before they go to the meetings, they underline in all sorts of colours their study material, because that looks good. They may not properly read it, but they'll underline obvious bits. And of course, they answer up during the meeting. Jehovah's Witnesses meetings are quite often all about reading a passage, and then, or one elder reading a passage and another JW asking questions. I think they're usually elders at the front. And then there's a roving mic and people put their hand up and somebody chooses, the guy at the front chooses who to answer. So they do answer up because that's expected. And they stay behind the meetings just long enough to be sociable, and then they leave. In the days when ordinary JWs had to record their hours in field service and literature placed, their field service report forms were almost all complete fiction, really. And these PIMOs, they avoid doing field service with other JWs for obvious reasons. And if they have to go out in service, if they can't avoid it, to keep up appearances, they have learnt the art of interacting with as little people as they can. And and I can do a whole video on ways even current Jehovah's Witnesses do that, and it's all a farce really, because they're not trying to fool God. Some of them may not even believe in God. They're not trying to fool God. They're just fooling the elders and the people in the congregation for a very good reason. They don't want to lose their family, it could be their mums or dads or cousins or brothers or sisters, children, grandchildren, who will shun them if they leave. It's a precarious existence, PMO JWs tell me. Most of them are on their way out to fading, and some have faded and are out. But it's precarious because you have to live a double life. And I'm not saying it's right to live a double life. I'm just saying it's what they have to do to remain close to their loved ones. I have 4 grown-up children, or my wife and I have 4 grown-up children. We have 8 grandchildren so far. I don't know if there's going to be any more. But we have a good relationship with them, and I would hate to think that there wouldn't be a relationship with them. The thought just appalls me. And yeah, we're normal family. We have fallings out occasionally and disagreements, but we're still family. We still love each other. We still interact and spend time with each other. And I would fight. I would fight for that. And so if I was in the position of a JW, where I just don't believe anymore, for lots of reasons. Too many to go into on this video. So you have to live this, they have to live this double life just to remain in contact with their loved ones, family and friends who they love. And of course, for many Jehovah's Witnesses, their employment is tied up with the congregation. They might work for fellow JWs, and so to pull out would mean loss of employment. Certainly in the UK, that would be really difficult. It's hard to find work as it is, without, of course, being unprepared for life outside the JW religion. So there we go. As I often say to Jehovah's Witnesses, when you go to your Kingdom Hall, take a good look round, because the estimates, some PMO JWs have told me, they reckon up to a quarter or even a third of Jehovah's Witnesses in any congregation could be potentially PMO. I don't know if that's an overestimation, but certainly from some PMO Jehovah's Witnesses, I have heard those figures bandied about. If they're true, and we have no way of knowing, if they're true, then the potential for PMO Jehovah's Witnesses throughout the world could be tens of thousands. It would be, I am sure, a significant number. And as I often tell Jehovah's Witnesses, you might look around and try and guess who's PMO, but these people have learnt to be private, secretive. They've learnt how to put on the facade of being an active JW. And I say this again, they are not trying to fool God. They're not. But they're just surviving in a really difficult situation. And my heart goes out to them. And again, I say, as I often say at the end of these videos, I don't have hate for Jehovah's Witnesses. I have a great deal of love and respect for them getting out with their faith. And I may not agree with that faith, but that doesn't mean I can't love them. It doesn't mean anybody can't love them and treat them with respect. I think it was Morgan Freeman who said, just because I disagree with you, it doesn't mean I hate you. And we need to relearn that in society. So this video is for all the PMOs out there. You're not alone. We don't know the figure, but you really are not alone. That is for sure. Anyway, that just about wraps this video up. I thank you for your time in watching this, and I hope to see you again shortly. Bye for now.